Okay, so here's an instructional video on the broken logo assignment. So we're going to download a file that has some logos on it that don't work correctly. We're going to use some images to match those logos to. We're going to grab the anchor points and move them. We're going to adjust the curves. And then finally, you're going to import some images into the logos so that you have your own individual product to show off by the end. So let's go ahead and click on the assignment here. So here's the example of what your product is going to look like. As you can tell, they're the familiar logos, but I picked a theme of presidents and I used them within the logos so you can see what they look like and so that they're individual. So what you're going to need is you're going to need to download this link on your computer and then also these other images because we're going to be using these as references. So click on that to download. Make sure that you open the images and click download. Otherwise, you're going to get something that does not look so pretty. So open and download each of these images. Okay, with that done, we're going to go to a new website, which is Vector.com, Vectr.com. And if you haven't already, it's a good idea to go ahead and create a profile. You can use the Google button that's going to show up. Okay, go to Vector.com and we're going to start a new file. Again, if you haven't yet, you might need to make a profile for yourself so that you can save your work and not worry about losing it. To the left here, there's the upload image button. We're going to click on that. And there's our broken logo SVG. I'm going to open it. So now here our logos have shown up. They all look a little off kilter, not quite right. We're going to go ahead and we're going to also import these three images. If you hold Shift and then click, you can grab them all at once. Otherwise, just open them up once at a time. And it might take a minute or two. So here they've all shown up. Now they're way too big. So to adjust their size, I'm going to click on the image and I'm going to hold the Shift key. It's very important that you hold the Shift key. Otherwise, your icons are going to start getting all squashed and funny. So I'm going to drag them to just about the size I want, where they're all going to fit nicely. Holding Shift. Maybe a little bit smaller, holding Shift. So it kind of fits on, it's about right. The Nike logo is very wide. Make Mickey a little bit bigger. Put the Apple logo to an appropriate position. Maybe make that about the same size. Click on the McDonald's logo. And again, I am holding Shift because what'll happen if I don't hold Shift is you end up skinny arches or chubby arches, right? We don't want those things. We want our nice golden arches. So I'm going to hit Control Z to correct it. And then put that into place, holding Shift. Okay, so good. Now my references are just about where I want them. Now with these layers, right now, these reference images are above my paths. And I don't want that. I want the paths to be on top. All right. So if you drag them down to the bottom, they're going to be put under, which is more better. So to adjust this again. Okay. Now my image layers are beneath my paths. And if I click on a path once, you can move the whole thing around. If you double click, these points or anchors become active. And this is where we're going to do most of our work. Once these points are active, you can drag them so that they line up correctly with the image that we're trying to make. I'm going to go ahead and get all of these points into a good position. And if you're putting points on a curve, you kind of want them to be at the midpoint of most of your curves. And we'll learn more about that as we keep practicing. Okay, so now these are looking pretty good. But if we look closely, and we can zoom in here and use 2 fingers to scroll, or you can use the space bar. Or you can drag here. You'll notice that these curves just aren't quite right? From point to point, it's not doing what I want. And these curves are defined by these handles. So if we grab this handle and bring it in, well, that's looking a little better, but now we're wrong on the other side. So we could try moving this point over. That might help a bit, but it's still not doing quite what we want. So the problem might be down here at this other point. We click on that and you see this big handle. If we grab it, now we can move this line and maybe go back and forth. Now you'll notice, this is the tricky part, that anything you do on one handle gets mirrored by the other handle. Most of the time, that's a good thing. Especially if you want a nice, smooth-looking curve, it's important that this handle is straight. But you can break it, and sometimes you need to. So down here, for example, I definitely want this handle broken because I don't want it pulling down on the other side. So in order to break the handle, I'm going to hold Control, and then I click on this anchor, and I can move it independently of my other one. And since I don't need any curve on this line whatsoever, I'm just going to leave this anchor right back at that point. Now it's very important that I keep holding Control if I want to move this anchor independently. Otherwise it'll reset and I'll have to do it again. But now we can see that this arch is behaving much more closely to the original graphic, and I'm actually just going to grab that point. Now I've got a good lineup of this line. And this line is looking good. This line is almost looking good. If I click on that point, okay, so here's another issue. A perfect curve isn't going to do quite what I want. I'm going to see what's going on here. Maybe I can fix it down at this point. If you click on a point, you can reset it by double clicking. And now that I've reset it, that's actually lining up pretty good. Maybe just move that just a little bit. Cool. And what works on this side, should work on the other side. So I'm going to try to kind of mirror what's going on there. Get that lined up. Using the space bar so I can move. Holding Control so I can move this independently. Same thing here, holding Control. Pull it up a little on the intensity. Move that point down just a little bit. Okay, that's starting to look pretty good. Hold control, get that just right, dial it back. There. All right, so now I fixed these golden arches and they're matching very well with the original image. And if I want, I can add a color to it. Check here, the opacity needs to be brought up. Maybe I want them to be the green arches. The orange arches. The blue arches, right? You can play around with that. But for yours, what you're gonna end up doing is you can actually bring in an image here. Go to image, click on this square, and it'll allow you to import an image. You know what this is. Hopefully it's nothing too embarrassing. Sometimes it doesn't want to show up. Okay. If you double click so that these are active again, you'll notice there's this box around it. You can move, grab that box and move the image. And so now we've got some twisted thing. Martin Luther King eating at McDonald's. Only in America. And I might actually just get rid of the border so it looks more stark. And the image is behind it. Go ahead and get rid of that. There we go. Got a wonderful McDonald's cutout. So for these other logos, it's the same thing. One piece of advice I would give is to change the color of the border so you can see what you're doing. You can change it to red, change it to green, just something that's going to stand out. And again, I like to get my points kind of oriented first, and I'll adjust the curves after. You might even just double click on them all, just reset them. And so right now they're all corners. So that's a straight line version. Then you double click again and you're going to get these bars and you can just kind of pull it into shape from there. One thing I'm noticing about curves is they usually look good if you can get this bar to kind of lay flat on a curve. You'll have a nice round curve that way. And here we're going to need to start using the control because we got a corner. So I'm holding control. Just kind of get that going in the direction. But I'm going to do most of the curve from here. just pull it right in the shape. Hold Control. Oh, I missed it. I'll fix that in a minute. Hold Control. There we go. Drag that just a bit out this way. And sometimes it's just going to take a little bit of tugging here and there. You can adjust the points too. Sometimes it makes sense to just even get rid of the points. If it's not really doing, if it doesn't need to be there. On a Chromebook, you can hit alternate delete or alternate backspace, or you can just hit delete. And we'll see if we can just get through this way. There we go. It just kind of takes practice to get this stuff just right. So now that's looking pretty good. And again, to get an image in there, click here, double check. Again, make sure that opacity is up. And you can check just by here. Okay, so that should be good. I'm going to go to image, click on the image, and look for something else. I think I had another. This picture of Jackie Robinson. Whoa. Some of these images just don't work out. So if this happens to you, try re-downloading the image or try another image. I've had that happen a couple times. And double click, then you can click on the outer box. Stretch it a bit. Okay, click away. And let's just get rid of that border. Uncheck it. There we go.